Several villages in Ukraine's Kyiv province remain flooded a year after a dam was blown up to create a water barrier against the advancing Russian army. Authorities sacrificed the hamlet of Demydiv, 35 kilometers north of Kyiv, last February by blowing up the nearby dam in a bid to bog down Russia's army. And while the last-ditch effort helped spare the capital from a Russian takeover, the authorities' cleanup efforts have proved much less ingenious and much less speedy. More than a year after the Ukrainian military flooded his village to halt Russia's lightning march on Kyiv, Ivan Kukuruza's basement is still submerged and his patience is running out. And the 20,000 hryvnias he received as compensation has not ultimately changed the fact that his basement, whose shelves are lined with canned pickles, is still filled with half-frozen, stagnating water.
The Ukrainian people rose and stopped the Russian army. The water didn't do it. Now just lower the water levels by half, even then no tank could pass through here. It was on purpose that the dam was blown up so that the enemy would not pass into Kyiv. There is a reservoir and a dam in Kukuruza. It was blown up to flood this territory, and the Russian army didn't have a chance to get through. Of course, it certainly harmed people, but if it weren't for water, the Russian army would have been in Kyiv. There is a direct road to Kyiv. They wouldn't have been stopped further on, because they would have gone through the villages and failed to break them. Water helped us, she kept this side.
Ukrainian officials have been reticent to intervene, fearing a new Russian assault from the Kremlin's ally Belarus further north. That has left locals to their own devices, but with little to show for their efforts. For instance, the pumps that Kukuruza bought to drain his property broke because of cold winter weather.
All the trees are gone. You see, I cut everything. The current survived. I don't know what will happen to the pears. There were pears in 2022, but I don't know what will happen next.
When
they pumped out 1.5 meters of water, there is no more water. It's gone. When all the water is pumped out and our land is returned to its former state, there will be paradise again. While water doesn't allow us to do what a person needs for existence, nothing falls from the sky. We need to do everything with our hands on this earth.
The Ukrainian military did just that by detonating explosives planted on a barrier at a huge reservoir near Kyiv, sending millions of liters of water into the nearby open river that overflowed its banks. It took 2 attempts, one on the second day of the invasion, February 25th, and a second effort 2 days later to destroy the dam and make crossing the river nearly impossible for the Russian troops pushing for Kyiv. The move bought Ukrainian troops just enough time to regroup and beat back Moscow's forces caught in the heaving bog around the river.
They blew up the dam in Kukuruza last year in 2022. There used to be agricultural land and the Irpin River, 10 to 12 meters wide. In order to prevent the movement of military equipment, the movement of water through the floodplains of the Irpin River was allowed and the territories to the village of Moshun were flooded. The original goal was to keep Kyiv, to defend Kyiv. As a result, there were consequences for the population. 200 houses were flooded. It is clear that the people suffered from this. Given that there is a threat of second offensive from the north, the water will remain at the level at which it is now.
Despite the difficulty of living in waterlogged bog land, like many elderly residents of Ukrainian regions scarred by Russia's invasion, they aren't going anywhere.